Okay, I have been getting a lot of messages on Facebook and texting, so that means it's time for an update. And sorry if I'm not responding to anybody. It's just a lot to keep up with. So between Facebook and the Caring Bridge site, I'm hoping that everybody can get their updates that way. It's been a really rough couple weeks here. So one thing I've learned about my body is that when I go through any sort of surgery, the surgery itself goes great. Like my healing is fast. I recover really, really quickly, but for some reason I get all the complications, and it's just something I don't know. I don't know why it is, but whether it's a blood clot or blood transfusions, this time I ended up, well, a couple of things. After the surgery, I ended up with some sort of GI viral infection. They initially thought it was bacterial, so they ran some tests, thinking maybe it was C. diff or something from when I was in Peru, but it was clear, and so it was clearly viral, but it lasted for 8 days. So it was a really long haul, and frankly, when you're recovering from surgery, it just slowed everything down. It was really hard, and I just wasn't getting the sleep that I needed. So that was one thing. This is why you haven't heard from me for a while. It's been a roller coaster here. And then last Friday, I went to get my air exchange, which means that I have expanders in, and they take out the air and then they fill it with saline. So you actually have kind of like a small, well, in my case, it was kind of a large breast after they're done putting the saline, and they put quite a bit in. It was 500 milliliters or cc's on each side, which I think the reason that it was that much was because I was supposed to start chemotherapy on a week from Tuesday. And so they, rather than doing multiple fills, they just wanted to be able to do it in a couple, because if you're doing fills while you're having chemo, your chances of infection are high. Well, I ended up still getting a really bad infection on the left side. And so Friday, I went in to get this fill done. I came back from the plastic surgeon and ended up getting really sick and just going straight to bed. And then I woke up, obviously with a lot of pain, but then when I stood up, it's like it did something to, I don't know if it was because it was against the lymph nodes or where the lymph nodes were all removed or what, but I would be laying down, and then as soon as I stood up, I was white as a ghost and my whole body would start shaking. And then once I walked around for about 10 minutes, I was fine. So it was really strange. And that happened, anytime that I laid down. So waking up in the morning, getting up from a nap, anytime. So there was something really strange going on. And then it started getting really inflamed. So I went into the on-call plastic surgeon doctor on Saturday, and he was still not sure if it was an infection or if it was just from the lymph nodes. And I went back in today, and they ended up sending me to the infectious disease center where they had to do IV antibiotics. And unfortunately, I'm allergic to penicillin and sulfa, and then vancomycin, which we just discovered from the surgery, because when I had the surgery, they put me on vancomycin as an IV, and I broke out into this really bad rash and got really itchy. So and I was like, why can't you just give me Benadryl and then put me on that again? They were like, well, sometimes, if that happens once, the second time around, it could be you could react really differently. So they wouldn't give me that. Then what they could give me, unfortunately, is one that I have to go back. I have to go back to Brookfield every day this week to get, they have to push an antibiotic through my IV. They had a really hard time getting my IV in because they can't use my whole left arm where my veins are good, because they removed all those lymph nodes. So from now through the rest of my life, I can only use my right arm for anything. So for blood pressures, blood draws, and any sort of IV fluids of any sort. So they had to use my right arm, and I don't have very good veins. So they had a hard time getting it in. And so when they took blood samples, it was like drip, drip, drip. And then with the IV fluid, it was just having a hard time going in. So they just left the IV in my arm. So every time I go back this week, at least it's in my arm, but they have it all taped down and it's like stuck to my sweater right now. So I think I'm stuck wearing this sweater. I don't know. Otherwise I'll have to cut it off. I'm not sure. I don't want to rip that IV out, but so that's where I'm at. I was supposed to start chemo a week from Tuesday. They were going to do my port surgery this Friday, and then my chemo on Tuesday next week. But all of that is pushed back because they have to make sure that this infection heals up first before they can do anything else. So everything is kind of put on hold. I got kind of emotional today because it just seems like I can deal with the regular steps. And this is what happened like after both of my children were born too. I got a blood clot, and then I had to have a blood transfusion. And I mean, there were just so many things, regardless of how well surgeries go or how well my C-sections go. It's the stuff, my body just is like, wow, what's going on here with surgery? So then I always get complications no matter what I do. And I'm not putting that under the universe. So if I have surgery in the future, I'm aiming for a clean book on this because I've done the complications. So future surgeries are going to be just clean. Chemo, I won't have any complications. It's just going to be perfect. And I won't be puking or anything. My hair probably won't even fall out. It's going to be great. So anyway, that's where I'm at. Unfortunately, this morning when I went in to see the plastic surgeon, I didn't take any pain pills because I thought it was going to be like, oh, okay, I think I have an infection. Let's start me on antibiotics. And it ended up being where I went straight from there to the infectious disease center. So I didn't have any pain pills. And so I didn't get back until 4:00. And so it was like, it ended up being the whole day. And I came home and I was in so much pain. I felt like a 90-year-old, no offense, 90-year-olds, but I was like hunched over and I just looked like crap. And I'm sure Trevor's ready to throw me out the window. This is annoying for me too and frustrating. I'm sure it's annoying and frustrating for him too. So if anybody wants to drive me every day for the next week, I will gladly take your driving because it's going to be 9 a.m. at least Tuesday and Wednesday. And we have to take Jonathan to school tomorrow. He has to be there by like 7 a.m. And then Austin to daycare. So it's a lot. And I know that I can't imagine because I am now back on painkillers. So I really can't be driving. So otherwise I'll just do an Uber or something. But anyway, I just wanted to give you an update. If everything clears up and I'm back on track, I will try to do updates because it does help me a lot to just be able to kind of bring you all up to speed at the same time rather than multiple texts and messages. And again, I'm sorry. I know that it probably seems rude, but for the first time in my life, and this is good for me, I'm actually doing a pretty good job of telling people, when I can take visitors and if I'm not. Because right now, like the last thing I really want to do to be frank is I don't want to answer all the phone calls. It's a lot of energy. And I even notice, when sometimes I love having people come over, but then other times I have to be just really honest and say, I just can't sit with you right now and talk because I really need to go and lay down. And it's the first time in my life that I've really had to do that. And, maybe when all is said and done, that is definitely something I will gain from all of this because I've never been good about that. I've always been someone that's to a fault thinking about and worrying about everyone else, my kids, my clients, my husband, everything. So that's one thing I'm learning, and it's a slow process, but in this situation, it's got to be done. So I appreciate all of you. I really appreciate all of your support. And man, there's some good cooks out there. I had like the best pot pie that I've ever had in my life, Jen Eckert. It was incredible. So thank you to everyone again. We ended up, while I was bent over in pain. I didn't eat, so we stopped at Panera. So Emily Bauer, we used your gift card today at Panera. There was an older man there that was staring at me because I was wearing a mask and I was like white and bent over, and I think he thought I had COVID. So you got to take all the humor you can when you're going through things like this, and it caused me to just kind of, even though I was really in pain, I was kind of laughing inside because I looked like just horrible. So anyway, I thought that it would be really nice to give you a really pretty backdrop here this time. At least I'm not laying in my bed. So it's kind of a nice cozy environment for this video. So my pain pill made me feel a lot better. And I only took one, but at least I'm enjoying my fire time here. And I'll be now watching Schitt's Creek. So it'll be good to have some laughter tonight. Okay.